Happy Monday, all. Welcome to another episode of the Prepare to Repair Show. I'm your host, Steve Suarez, and I've got a great show for you today. I've got my most fabulous realtor out there. I personally think she's great. Her name is Audrey Johnson from Home Source Realty. She'll be joining me today. And to give you a little input about Audrey, she has sold several homes to friends and family members. Fantastic realtor, listens, understands her clients, and understands their needs to get the home they need or the home they want. And this is very important because sometimes you need a voice that's going to guide you in the business that has a ton of experience. And she's the type of person that would do that for you. So I'm glad to have her on. Before I get to her, I'm sure that everybody has been experiencing various issues with the weather, coming from, I've seen over the last few days on social media, a new word that's entering, or phrase that's entering the vernacular of everybody, and that is ice dams. It is terrible what we've seen over the last few days, where people are literally having water raining in their kitchens, in various parts of their homes because of the ice freezing up on their gutters. It's terrible. And just as terrible as this may be, contact your insurance companies, contact the appropriate people, and remain calm. Do not, when there's weather emergencies like this, it brings out the best in people, and unfortunately it brings out the worst. And you get people that are unscrupulous, that try and take advantage of people at this, terrible time. So, keep in mind of your house's history. What has it done? What type of issues you've had in the past before? Because you'll have people coming in that are going to try and sell you on a whole bunch of things that, if this is the first time you've ever had an issue with, say, seepage, a basement flooding, sump pump issue, whatever the case may be, and they're going to try and sell you on all this stuff that you may or may not need, and it's the first time you've had it in 25 years, you may want to think about it. As far as ice dams, contact the proper people. There's plenty of companies out there that are taking care of this. They're doing a really good job, and that can help you out. And just check them out. Do your due diligence. Do your homework. And just remain patient on it. So I've got a couple tips on it to help you out as far as in the coming days with everything starting to thaw. This is what we were afraid of. The freeze is bad and the weather is bad, but the worst part is when this starts to thaw. You find out pipes that froze, you didn't know they froze, they start to let you know, hey, we froze, and you start seeing water. So this is when plumbers are going to be busy. You want to make sure you get the right plumbers, make sure you get the right people, and the good plumbers out there, they'll be glad to help you out there. There's plenty of them there. If you don't have a plumber, obviously, you can give us a call at RJ Graham Plumbing, 708-743-7426, or at rjgrahamplumbing.com. We'll be glad to help you out. But if you've got a guy, but if you got a company that is out there that's been taking care of you, by all means, continue to use them. A couple tips that I would say is check your sump pumps, check the discharge where it's going out of the house, check it where it's going away from the house, making sure the water goes somewhere so it hasn't froze up that can cause your pump to fail. If your pump is over 5 years old, I would recommend, and you get substantial water and it's been working kind of hard for the last 5 years, I would recommend upgrading it now as soon as possible because it's only going to get worse as this starts to melt and we're starting to get some rain with the higher temperatures coming. So I would definitely look to that. If you need it, if you have some skills and you have mechanically inclined and you change your own pumps, if you're looking for a pump, I would recommend getting a Zoller pump. They are great. They're made in Kentucky. They are durable. They're beasts. They can handle anything that you throw at them. If you're looking to get it, you can get it at William F. Meyer in Crest Hill, and they go and see the guys at the counter. Tell them what you got. They'll be glad to help you out. Mention the show, and they'll hook you up. So you want to get yourself a decent sump pump. So that'd be great. And also you want to check make sure the snow that you have, keep it away from the house. you don't want to have that starting to melt, and then it starts seeping into the basement. And if it starts seeping into the basement, then you have other problems. So you want to kind of move it away as it's starting to melt, just kind of like you would do your landscaping come summertime. You don't want the landscaping up against the house where if it retains moisture, it starts to leak into the house. So you want to keep that away. So, and again, like I said about weather emergencies, you're going to want to take care of that. You're going to want to make sure that you keep an eye on who's coming in, and you have control in your house. Remember that at all times, anytime, every time. You are number one. You have control. You don't like how things are going? Stop it right there. Make phone calls. You have control on who's working in your house. Just remember that at all times. Another thing that we've got coming up is that we're doing, it's called Ugly Faucet Friday. Yes, Ugly Faucet Friday. If you've got an ugly faucet that you cannot stand, that the handle affects the homeowner, the inside information that we want to know, we want to ask, and really don't have the relationship with people we're professionals like this to get some of this information. And I'm going to ask her because I can't believe I've known her for this long. It's close to 12 years now, and she has been phenomenal, and I'm sure you're going to love her. I'm going to welcome Audrey to the show. Audrey, you on there?
I am. How are you, Steve?
Oh, you are phenomenal. I'm doing great, and I'm glad to have you on here. Who would have thought 12 years ago?
Well, I can't thank you enough for having me. This is a real treat.
Who would have this? Yeah, look at me. Quite the Renaissance man over here. I thought 12 years ago I would be on the radio.
I knew you were destined for great.
So
that's my first thought. I bet Jude's too.
Oh yeah. Well, she has to like me. She's married to me. I mean, otherwise, she can't take me back. My mother won't take me. So, so I wanted to tell you. I talked to you about some questions that I wanted to discuss with you, but I was talking about. I was just before you came on is just seeing over since the time I talked to you a few days ago. Just all these problems that people are having with the weather related issues, it's terrible, and I just can't help to think of, say, somebody who just bought a house, and this is happening to just how devastated this has got to be. Just it's all new, and you got the house of your dreams, and then this happens. It's terrible.
It is, and people are right. They don't know what to turn to, especially if they're first-time home buyers. Most of them don't even have the basic hammer, screwdriver, nail kit, let alone what to do when all of a sudden you see water trickling down the inside of your house. Matter of fact, I just got a call from my cousin a few minutes ago. I damming going on in her house, and they probably lived there about 25 years. So unfortunately, a house, like anything else, is work and maintenance, and all this weather just exacerbates anything. And you've got frozen pipes, you've got ice damming, and I'm sure you've been on call all weekend with that. But yeah, and not knowing who to call or what to do or first thing. And I'll tell you, the first things I always tell my new homeowners is also find out where your water shutoff is.
Absolutely.
You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to turn their water off in case of an emergency.
Well, I have to say, when we've gone to people's houses, when we go there, we ask them what type of problem they're having, and they guide us to whatever the issue they're having, and we'll go through it. And we would ask, is everything else okay? But ideally, I would, strongly recommend having a day, or even having a plumber, or a plumber of their choice, or even us, whatever, go through, check out these valves, even if it's just to educate on something that they can do themselves at a later date. Because education is one of those things that are priceless. If say you don't know how to do, you never put in a sump pump before, or you don't know what the valves are, or you don't know anything about the water heater, just watching somebody do it the first time, you can determine as a homeowner, is this something in my wheelhouse that I can attempt on my own? Is this something I should try to do on my own? Again, and some will say, yeah, I could do that. And others will say, you know what, I'm not going to squeeze underneath the sink and put that faucet in. I'm not going to play with it. So, and your job, you're selling people, dreams, and selling them their dream house. And one thing I found is just with this, the American dream can turn into the American nightmare really quick.
Yeah, you are so right. And I think especially nowadays, as you and I have talked about, everybody is so busy watching HGTV. And you've got several fantasies going on. One is, first of all, that there's a ton of houses out there and they're all perfect and they're all decorated exactly the way you want. They all function perfectly. And that doesn't happen in the real world. And the fact that there's not going to be a problem with the house if it looks pretty. There's going to be a problem. And what I remember the first time I bought a house, and as long as I've been doing this, when it's your own stuff, it's very different. So I had a problem with the furnace, and it was expensive. And I remember telling my friend, I'm like, oh my God, it was this much. She says, first of all, you have to realize that almost anything that goes wrong with the house is going to cost you $1,000. She goes, it's kind of just it. Your furnace, your central area, your plumbing, your appliances, nothing cheap, your roof. And it's all, as things age, it happens. People, houses, same thing.
You know, I can't even tell you how much I dislike these shows. I mean, they're great to watch and the drama, but they're just, it doesn't go like that in the real world. The renovations are not done that quick. They don't go.
Oh, come on. They're not done in half an hour, or best yet, over the whole weekend.
And you see how everyone is, after those shows, they seem like they're very happy and they're all hugging and everything. I have seen these renovations have spouses that are, I mean, they're ready to get into the ring. I mean, they're ready to just go at it, that it's just tried their patience. And
that's when you really find out if you're compatible with who you're with.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
You can come to blows over door handles.
Or even just fixtures. It's just, you know, and I've just seen this just go so south real quick. And the thing that's disheartening, and you'll probably touch on this, and it's the fact of when people go in, they're first-time home buyers, and this bothers me because I've seen this happen numerous times. They go to buy a house, and they find a beautiful one. It's all done. It's kind of at the top of their budget, but it's beautiful. It's done. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is buy furniture. So they go and do that, and then they find out that this was a rehab or this was remodeled, and the people who did it spent a boatload of money on all the pretty stuff, but the mechanicals are bad. So in order to
You are so right.
So, Audrey, we're going to take a break right now, if you can hold on, and we're going to get back to your answer on that, and then we can elaborate further on this.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
The Armstrong and Getty Show poses the question, can you be informed? Can you be up on the news of the day and the issues without being bored? We say yes, you can.
The Armstrong and Getty Show.
Not just boring, biased political talk. The Armstrong and Getty Show is entertaining, informative, with political commentary, observations on local, national, and international news, and reflections on social issues. Weekdays at 10 a.m. here on 1340 WJOL.
It's at 6.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair Show. I am your host, Steve Suarez, and before the break, I was going off on a little bit of a rant, if you will, regarding some of the home shows and what people are buying homes that are at the top of their budget, and they're kind of getting themselves a little surprise afterwards. And Audrey was going to give her weigh in on that, and here you go, Audrey. Let me know what you think about my opinion on that.
Well, I agree with you, Steve. Most of the time, you and I agree on things. And I think that the disservice it does people is that when they're out looking for a house, either a first-time buyer, possibly somebody who hasn't purchased in a while, if you come in and it looks pretty, you're kind of not looking at the important stuff. When was your roof replaced? When is the sump pump, your furnace, your central air? Does it look like there were watermarks in the basement? Things that are old that are going to be big money sucks. Your windows. Winter is the perfect time to shop for a house. Walk to the window. You feel any air coming in? Put your hand along there. Do you feel a draft coming in? I think that when people look for a house, it's the realtor's obligation, which I try to do for my clients. Not only is this supposed to be a good experience, a fun experience, because this is something you work for and save for. Home ownership is a wonderful thing to accomplish, but I like to educate people about what you're buying. It's going to be probably the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy, you have to choose correctly. It's not like you're taking a pair of shoes back to exchange them. So take your time. Don't get distracted by pretty. Do your research if you have a question. And if you're unsure, as hot as this market is and as fast as it's moving, I would rather have my client wait and make sure than jump into something and regret it. There's going to be another house. You will get the house you're meant to have. I've always believed that. But don't rush into something that's going to be a potential problem. If you're unsure, bring a lot of people bring their mom and dads, bring your parents, bring and have your inspector come. I cannot tell you enough that don't buy something just because it's got stainless appliances and it's painted gray and white.
Oh, absolutely. You touched on something. You said you do this as a realtor. This is your responsibility to your clients. And one thing that I found, and I mold my company as someone who buys. I buy. And one of my biggest things that frustrates me, and my kids think I'm nuts, and even the wife thinks I'm nuts, probably for a whole different reason, other than this. But when you buy something, you have a reasonable expectation that this is going to function. It is going to work as it's advertised, as it's needed. So if I'm going to buy this particular house, just let me know what it needs. I renovated it. This is what I repaired. This is what I didn't repair. And this way I know, I get the devil I know. And I've done that, and I'm a big fan of cars. And when I buy a car, if I'm buying it, I want to know what's wrong with it. Just tell me what's wrong with it. I sold one to a gentleman in Indiana, and he was looking for this car. It was his childhood car. It was a Chevelle, and he wanted to rebuild the one he had. And I told him, I said, this car came from California, the Mojave Desert. It has no rust on it. And he didn't believe me. So when I sold it to him, it was a fair price. And he still didn't believe me. He thought I was lying, which he should have. You don't know me. You don't need to trust me. I mean, you don't know me from, anybody on the street. He wound up, when he got it home, he called me back probably around a month later and said, my body guy and paint guy wants to give you a hug and thank you. This thing is in pristine condition. And in my opinion, I use it as an example, but that's how a deal should run. That's how a deal should go. When you buy something, when you buy a service, and granted some services you don't want or something like, with plumbing, nobody wants to see me. But when they do, they want to be able to get something that says, hey, I got the job done. I have a warranty on it. And you know what? I'm happy with the service. I don't want them mad at me when I leave. And when you sell somebody a home, you want them to be happy with that and for years to come, because that's where, if they're younger, they may be growing their family in that, or depending on whatever stage of life it is, they're going to have people over. It's going to be creating memories, and that's what you need to have, and that's what you should be. That's what you're selling. That's what you're buying, and that's what you should get. And unfortunately, there's people that capitalize on that, and that's unfortunate, and it really frustrates me.
No, and it's. To me, you always have to tell people the truth, and you also have to make them aware. And it's the constant. I've had it where I've lost a couple of deals with people because, look, I said, I know you like the whole first floor. The downstairs has water mark 6 inches from the floor. This house gets water, but it's pretty. I'm like, go get your parents. If they say you could have it, then we'll buy it. But I'm telling you, mom and dad walked in and go, what are you thinking? This house even smells like it has water in it. So I have to be an advocate for them when sometimes they get ahead of themselves. Well, it's the same thing with buying a house that costs, maybe you could afford to buy this big, fancy, expensive house, but I always ask people, do you need it? That's why I'm not rich. But and as I tell the young kids, you could only sit in one room at a time. Maybe you don't need the 12-room house. You'd be happy with the 6-room house.
Absolutely.
You can always trade up, but trading down is very hard to do emotionally and financially.
Absolutely. And one thing I would say is when we talk about this, I would say when you're going into a house, and if it's one they have their heart set on and it had some recent work done on it, contact the village or county, check permits, check and see what the...
That's a great idea.
Check all that stuff. And one thing
That's a great idea.
Another thing is I would recommend televising the sewer line. The sewer line is one thing that often gets overlooked, and it is one of the most expensive issues that can come up. And it's one thing that is that you don't know because you don't see it. It's out of sight, out of mind. And
that is it's so true. And to what you said, we did that. I saw one of your employees a home, and we did that with his home, and he did find out that there were problems in there, and we were able to negotiate that for him and saved him from a big headache.
See, that's what you want now. And I don't know if you were listening when before you came on, or listening off the air, but when I was talking about these weather emergencies, they bring out the best in companies and also unfortunately bring out the worst. And one thing is going to happen with all this snow melting. You are going to have some pumps that fail. You are going to have some pump discharge lines fails, and you're also going to have sewer lines that back up. And when people go to have their lines cambered, I have to say that this is going to be bad, but I'm going to say this anyway. When you are having a line cambered, make sure you stay there and watch the whole thing from start to finish. Start to finish. And the reason why I say that, and this is something you're going to want to let buyers know, and there have been people out there that will put on a video of another sewer, of another one from prior job. Yes. They will put on it. They'll tell you to go run water. You'll go run water, and they'll put you a video on of somebody else's sewer. And then what will happen is you're looking at it, and they're going through the motions. And again, homeowners don't really know what they're looking at. And then they'll say, oh, there's a breakout here. On these cameras, a lot of them have what's called locators on them. So you can pick up where it is in the yard with an electronic locator. Now, that electronic locator will pick up where the sewer line is, and that's okay where your problem is. And then obviously that's where they would, give a price for a repair. Now, what some of them have done, some of the more unscrupulous ones, they take one of the locators, they sell them individually, they'll put it in their sock. And what they'll do is they'll walk outside and say, oh yeah, it's right here. It's right here. And so therefore they're digging a hole. Basically it's a dummy hole. They dig it, they throw a piece of pipe in, and then they backfill, and then they rod the line, and they say, oh yeah, everything's all great. When
oh my God,
they really didn't have an issue. They didn't have any problems. They just needed the line rotted, but they made money off it. See, rotting a line, a lot of, you'll see people out there, I'll rot a line for $100, I'll do this. And it's like, there's a reason why, because they want to get through the door so they can get the potential for the bigger work, like sewer repairs. And we do sewer repairs. We do them all the time, but I would say the sewer lines that we dig, we probably dig maybe 3% of them. Of the lines we go out. We can get them open, we rot them, and we can warranty them. And that's why I give this advice, just so people have this in the back of their minds. Check it out, because there are good people out there, but there are also some people out there that may be, less than forthcoming with information and kind of shady. So just want to always protect yourself. It's your home. They may seem nice, but you protect yourself. That's why the show is called Prepare to Repair. I'm giving you all the information.
That is a really great thing to tell people, because for myself, I would never have dreamed that somebody could do something like that. But I guess you have to be open to all kinds of terrible things happening.
Oh, it's horrible. It's really horrible that it happens. And it's one of those things where you can catch the warning sign. That's why I always stress on getting a licensed company, getting licensed people, because the more, if you check the reviews, they have rock solid reviews online. You check them out, they're licensed, they've been around for a while. The more roots a company has, the less likely they're going to do stuff like that, because they can't hide. When you look them up and they're just a name, and there's no, and anybody can throw a Facebook page up, anybody can throw a website up, but when you have roots there that they've been around for a while, they've got an address, they've got marked vehicles, they have they've been around, they're on the Better Business Bureau. I mean, even though they really are, some people may think they're meaningless. The more places that somebody is, the more places that you have to check, and they can't hide. And once you flush them out, the more that they can't hide, you bring them out of the shadows, the more risk they have to take. And the more risk they have to take, the less likely you minimize your chances as a homeowner of getting and having an issue. So it doesn't eliminate it, but you want to minimize it to the point of getting people where you can level the playing field. And that's
I think that's great advice. And again, a referral is probably one of the best things you get from a friend or family. And it's again how I feel about you, Steve, and your company. In all the years I've known you, I've never had another plumber since you. I mean, it's always been fantastic service, great prices, wonderful people. So, I mean, give you a little plug here on the air. But again, when you have somebody who's does great work for you, why would you look elsewhere?
You're just saying that because you're on the show. But you know what? There's a dinner in it for you. Just want to let you know.
All right.
I have another question. I have a couple other questions here. And
okay.
We're going on a lot of the home shows. Like I said, they're great to watch. I mean, they're entertainment at its finest. And they're interesting. Don't get me wrong. But I do know when you're looking at these, and maybe you would be able to answer this more. Do these shows give buyers get them in unrealistic expectations and just get them in over their heads? It's just even though it's like, yeah, they're going into certain houses, but just the overall buying experience, just that it's going to happen. Oh, it's going to go quickly. It's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be, and it does nowadays with everything going on. It's not going to happen. I mean, you don't close until you close, correct?
Correct. Right. It's not over till it's over. It's not over till you. The money gets transferred. You walk out with the key in your hand.
Yeah,
but it is. You're right. It gives you a false sense of security. And now, because as most people know, it's just been a seller's market, and prices in Orland were up 22% last year to year for 2020. Manhattan was up 43%. Some amazing Tinley was up 21%. So in that kind of frenzied market, people, and they miss them. There's not enough homes to go around, and people think that you don't have unfortunately, and this is not good for anybody, first-time buyer, professional, you don't have a luxury of time to really think about the house you want. These houses are selling even to people who've never seen them. The agent sends them the video, they look at it, and they buy it sight unseen. Wow. Or they'll waive an inspection, or they'll waive an appraisal just to make it happen. And that's a great way just to get yourself in trouble. I know you want a house, but you have to. I try to get people out to look at enough houses so that when they do see one, they are comfortable pulling the trigger and saying, yes, I want to write an offer on this house.
Why?
But you do have to make a decision very quickly. If it's a nice house, for example, if it's a nice house, Orland, it's priced well, decorated, nicely updated. There'll probably be multiple offers on it within the day. And then people are only going to pick maybe the top 2 or 3 to negotiate with, or just one. So if you cannot make a fast decision, you're going to be left behind. It doesn't mean it should be a careless decision.
I have to back you up here. Who or why would anybody waive an inspection or appraisal?
I know. Well, people do it because they want the house, and then they live to regret it. They have no recourse.
Well, I'm just thinking this. If you look at let's just rewind, 12, 13 years ago, a lot of things were changed, and people got in trouble because protections and rules were modified to make things happen and go quicker, and look at where things ended up. I know that's an oversimplification, but that is true. When you go against your procedures and processes, that's where you wind up getting yourself in trouble. Stick to what you do and stick to
guidelines are in place for a reason.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was getting at. That is unbelievable. That's amazing. I would never even, just like I told you about the sewer and just inspections and things like that. I would never even think to do that. That would this is too large of a purchase
It's too large. What they don't understand is once you waive that, what if, and this had happened to a big house in Palos Park, the termites ate the entire foundation. What happens if you do that and then it's $60,000 to jack up the house and put a new foundation in it? I mean, it could be anything. It could be roof problems. It could be anything that's a major financial investment. Or you waive the appraisal let's say the house costs $350 and the appraisal comes in at $300, you have to bring $50,000 to the closing table.
Wow.
You've got to make up that difference to get your loan. The bank's not going to give you a loan for something that's not worth it. So the safeguards, and your attorney will probably tell you the same thing, that these are in for a reason. No matter how much you think you want this house, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Have that inspection, definitely.
I want to talk a little bit more about this after the break. We can, because there's a lot of things I want to just ask about this. This is just amazing. So if you could stick with us, and we'll get it on the other side of the break. We're back with the Prepare to Repair show with Audrey Johnson from Home Source Realty. And before the break, we were talking about people waiving their appraisal and waiving the home inspection on a purchase. And I just have a question here. It's one of the segments that we're going to have coming up, and I'm looking to get some folks from local municipalities on here as far as plumbing inspectors. And one of the things they told me was they inspect to protect. And a lot of people see them as the enemy, but we're going to kind of dispel that myth on future shows. But one inspector told me, and this makes sense. He says, we inspect this because we want to make sure this house is solid and it is habitable and it retains its value, because people leave, homeowners leave, they buy, they sell and move. The home stays in the town. So any issues that happen, such as if something is not done right or something fails and homeowners can't afford to repair it, it goes into foreclosure, it damages the neighborhood. I can't help but think that if something like this happens where they don't get an inspection and something fails or something is they don't see, and it wipes them out. Say they have the double whammy. They have the waive the appraisal fee, so now they got to bring cash to the table. So they've basically wiped out some of the reserves they would have, and then they have waived the appraisal, and then they find out that there is an extremely expensive repair that has to be done. You could be looking down, foreclosure right off the bat.
It's very frightening how easy money could disappear on that. And especially, people are coming, especially if you're just buying it and you're putting 3.5% down, 5% down. Not everybody could put 10 or 20% down, and that's fine. But that also means is that you don't maybe have a big cushion in the bank too. You don't buy the house without something in the bank. If you've got to save something, don't just have $100 in the bank and buy this house, because I guarantee you something's going to happen. Save your money, have a little cushion, because that's so right. If one thing goes wrong, as soon as you miss a payment the 31st day, they're telling the bank's already going to tell you you're in pre-foreclosure. The bank is not your friend. They will come knocking at your door for that mortgage payment.
Well, they want their money, and rightfully so. And I'm just, like I said, that is a huge risk. It's a huge gamble with it's an expensive risk, and this is your home. This is where you're coming home at night. This is your sanctuary, so to speak. And I don't know. I don't think I would, make a risk. I gamble with food dates. Food expiration dates, and that's as far as I'm going to go. This is not one I'm willing to do on this one. This is crazy. This is surprising. But now, I would say this, what have you found in just the past year during the pandemic? What have you found that has changed that I would say a person that's going to be, I'm looking to buy a house, I'm looking to get in the market, I'm looking to sell, what would you say is something that they should really consider that nobody's mentioning?
I think the biggest thing is what's happened locally here is we're getting a lot of people who are leaving the city. They don't want to be in a high-rise anymore. They want a backyard. And again, what they're buying. Sometimes we are going to buy, and then they are in such a panic that they're selling just to get out here. So I think like anything else, you've got to take that deep breath and do your due diligence. I think you and I are talking the same thing here. You want to come out here, you're fighting everyone looking at the same picture. One new house came on the market, 50 people want to see it in the next 2 days. You are fighting that problem, yes, but my biggest thing is that your emotions rule your head. So you cannot fall in love with the house until you buy it and close on it. I don't care. You could like it, you could picture yourself living there, but you have to keep an open mind about it. You have to be realistic. So I think trying to purchase the dream without any expectations, that dream going off the rails, is what I'm probably seeing the most.
Now, as a contractor, I have seen, I lived through the meltdown, and it was really tough to, go and repair stuff, in the house and bringing my tools out the back door while you have the bank at the front door wanting to take it. So, I mean, it's really tough, during that time where people were really struggling, and it really
horrible.
hurt a lot of people.
Absolutely horrible.
Now, with everything happening now, with the prices going up and the rush to buy homes, have you seen, mirrors of, people were in a hurry, people were buying just to buy, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever. Are you seeing similar thing? I mean, because people are buying, they're bidding, they're overbidding on these just to get it, going over asking price. Obviously, the lending policies, the lending procedures are still in place, or even gotten stricter since then. Correct? I mean, they're
correct.
They haven't laxed down.
No, I don't. I'm not seeing that scenario. Well, before, if you went to buy a house, you could mortgage for 120% and get 20% cash back at closing. That's all illegal. It's gone. That's all been buttoned up. But it's a little bit. It's very different. The pandemic has really changed, and I think with people working at home, their view of home has changed. Before, if they were working 12 or 14 hours a day down at a law firm on Clark Street, well, now all of a sudden, blessed, you don't ever have to come in again. You could do all this research from home. Well, now they're not chained to being by the metro. They're not chained to be having good access to one of the highways. Maybe they always wanted to go live someplace so they can have a few chickens. So it has widened the base of where people are willing to look. Now they don't have to be 20 minutes from downtown. They're happy. Maybe they're going to move out to Shorewood. Maybe they're going to move farther, Manhattan, Morris. Maybe that's something that most people didn't have considered, and now that's on people's radar. And they want. This is fun. It's a very different kind of a very quick change. Before, and I'm sure everybody wants a great room, but they want everything open. I think the biggest change that we've been seeing locally is all of a sudden they realize when everybody's at home, mom and dad are working at home and kids are doing homework, you can't have anybody in a great room because somebody's going to get killed. They need a place. You need one or two offices, or you need a place to do homework, or maybe you need a place to have a gym or to put the exercise bike in the basement or something. So all of a sudden, people are realizing maybe one big room isn't what I want, or mom and dad are coming and maybe we need related living. So I think there's a tone of what people are looking for is changed dramatically in about the last 6 to 8 months.
So the definition of home has really just is I guess I'm trying to think of the right word. That is, it's just
it's kind of evolving for a new lifestyle.
And it's open to interpretation. I mean, based on the individual. I mean, right. Now more than ever it has, because of the pandemic, because of just the way everything has changed. So I want to, I'm just, like I said, I'm surprised on this. This is amazing. If people want to get in touch with you and to retain your services and to be able to experience the home buying experience with the great Audrey Johnson, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, you can give me a phone call at 708-846-6494, or you can email me at audreyjohnson@realtor.com.
Audrey, I appreciate you being on my new show and dealing with a rookie that is, basically a plumber doing radio. You have no idea how great. I mean, I know you're busy, and this means a lot to me. I appreciate it. And I think when people call you up, they're going to see how genuine and how much information you have and how really eager you are to help. And the help comes before the dollar signs. And that's what we kind of need to get back to, is when you help people and do the job right, the money comes. I mean, it's a byproduct of doing the right thing. And, thank you. I appreciate it, Audrey.
I can't thank you enough, and the show's going to be great. A star is born here.
Thank you, Audrey. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Right, thank you. Coming up, I've got Evan, who has a listener question here that came over on the listener actually came over on the Prepare to Repair Facebook page.
Right. This question came from Lane, and her question has to do with what you've been talking about a little bit today about water and sump pumps. What's the life expectancy of a sump pump, and how do I know if it's malfunctioning?
Okay, that's a good question. The life expectancy of a sump pump is, depending on your water, the water volume you get in and how much it runs, I would say you're probably at around 4 to 7 years. That is the curve there. If you get a lot of water, you're probably more at the 3 to 4 year mark. If that doesn't run all that much, or it only runs when you get heavy rains, then I would say you're probably closer to that 7 year mark. But there's usually no sign that it tells you it either works or it doesn't. It's not going to come to you and say, okay, well, it's going to give you a noise that says it's about to quit. Sometimes they make some humming noises, but for the most part, they just quit. So it's better to be proactive with them when they start to get around a certain age and you're getting water, or you get a lot of water. I would definitely replace them. And I want to thank was it the Lane family that called that in?
No, the question was from Lane.
Lane, okay. I want to thank Lane. Send us over your address, and we will send you over a $10 Dunkin' gift card for that question. Send it over to the Prepare to Repair radio show on Facebook, and we'll send you out your gift card. And I wanted to also tell everybody before we go, I want to thank everybody for listening, but I want to remind you, the Ugly Faucet Friday. Send in photos of your ugly faucet by Friday to the Prepare to Repair show at gmail.com or Prepare to Repair radio show on Facebook. Send us your ugly picture to get in the running of the ugly picture of your faucet to get in the running to get yourself a new faucet. It's a Delta Touch 2.0. I want to thank everybody for listening. And on next week's show, we're going to have Bean's home inspections. So we have a realtor and a home inspector. Thank you for listening.